Well, we did the thing right after we talked about him being a building block. Jaylen Waddle sent off to the Broncos. We're going to talk about it.
Chad, I don't know what to say. I mean, we had so much to say the last podcast. We were so excited, so stoked. It is the most Miami Dolphin thing I could think of. We talked about him being a cornerstone player, somebody that we could build with, and it wasn't things to something that we were imagining. If this is not something that me and you just created, this is what was said from the GM. Now, we're here to talk about it. This is our therapy session. So the audience, you're listening to us, walk with us. Maybe along the way we can make sense of it, and I'm sure that we will. Right? We make sense of everything. We try to, at least, even when it really doesn't. But Chad, I'm hurting right now, brother. How you feeling, man?
This is what Fins Up Talk podcast was meant for. It was these therapy sessions. In our prayer before this one, we talked about and prayed specifically about the feeling that you get as a Dolphins fan, right? Where you think everything's going right. We sign Malik Willis. We do a counter on the amount of times that we're going to talk about us signing Malik Willis. And one of the pillars of that was having a Jaylen Waddle. Now, it's fair to say, when we look back and we talked about this one, we talked about us choosing Jaylen Waddle over staying at 3 and taking Jamar Chase. In my draft breakdown, Jaylen Waddle was my wide receiver 4. I had Jamar over him. I had Devontae over him. I had Amon-Ra over him. But Jaylen Waddle's the kind of player that when he's on your team, you feel really good because there's explosiveness there. There's a dynamic ability. That doesn't even take away the fact that he's an incredible, just a human being.
Yeah.
He could have, and we talked about this, there was several times he could have made us think about not getting the love that he was supposed to get, right? And it's going to happen, just so that we're clear on here. We're going to say this on this podcast. We're not happy about this. He's going to go to Denver. Sean Payton is going to draw up some things we've never seen for Jaylen Waddle because he's never had a player like this. And Jaylen Waddle is going to go for 1,200 to 1,300 yards with 10 touchdowns, and they're going to make a playoff run in Denver. It made me sick to my stomach, when I first saw it, because this is not what I wanted. And then you take a step back and you collect your thoughts and you think about what you and I have talked about. One, how many times have we talked about the depth in this draft?
Ooh, plenty of times.
Plenty of times. How many times have we talked about how our GM said we're no longer going to be short and fast, but big and strong?
A lot, Chad. Yeah.
John Eric Sullivan did come up and say something in regards to Jaylen Waddle when he was asked about it a few different times, but I want to make a clarifying point on that. He was asked, are you looking to trade Jaylen Waddle? And his response was, no, Jaylen Waddle is the type of player that you build around. However, we will take calls on any and all players. Now, there was an interview where he sat down with Travis Wingfield, and I just took this as let me store this later just in case. John Eric Sullivan preemptively brought up 4 players when he talked about building blocks on the Miami Dolphins. The first one he said was Devon Achane. The second player he brought up was Aaron Brewer. The third player he brought up was Jordan Brooks. And the fourth player he brought up was Patrick Paul. It wasn't until Travis Wingfield himself came out and said, oh, and Jaylen Waddle. And he goes, oh, yeah, Jaylen Waddle as well. And I'm not saying that at the time John Eric Sullivan had planned to trade Jaylen Waddle, because you very rarely trade 27-year-old dynamic players on a $20 million a year contract. That's a bargain in the prime of their career.
Yeah.
But as we've said, and as we like to coin, walk with me here, this is coming from a Jaylen Waddle fan. Had to represent my guy. We have 11 draft picks. Our GM in that same press conference said, we have 8 draft picks. That's not enough. I'd love to have 11 or 12. But we have 11. I'm going to real quickly, read you these draft picks. do a quick explanation, then I want to hear your thoughts. We
Yeah.
now have number 11 in the first round, number 30 in the first round, courtesy of Denver. Our own number 43 in the second round, number 75, which is our own, number 87, which is the Eagles one from the Jalen Phillips trade, number 90 from Houston, which was on a trade down that we did a year ago, number 94 from Denver. We have in the fourth round number 130 from Denver. So we moved down a couple spots. In the fifth round, we have 151. We don't have a sixth, and we have two seventh, number 227 and 238 from the Minka Fitzpatrick trade from the Jets. So in total, Juan, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 picks in the top 100, and we have 8 picks, or I should say 9 picks in the top 151. For a team that prides itself on draft and develop, this is the way, one. What would Jaylen Waddle do for us in the short and in the long, given the skill set and where we're at? Now, again, I hear the Malik Willis, why do you bring him in? All this other news. Malik Willis is 26 years old. He's essentially being looked at as a first-round draft pick. I say that because of this one. Fernando Mendoza is about to be drafted by the Raiders, and what does he have at his disposal right now? He
He
has
has Ashton Jeffrey. He has
Ashton
Brock
Genty,
Bowers. I'm
Brock
sorry.
Bowers.
Yeah.
Ashton Genty, Bowers.
Genty, and he has Brock Bowers.
Yep. They signed Jalen Naylor. They drafted Jack Bech last year. They drafted Dante Thornton last year. When people said this doesn't make any sense, we should be drafting and tanking, and now we're in the march for Arch. I want you to hear me loud and clear. Very rarely do you get a first-round quarterback that walks right into an immediately incredible situation. Having lost Jaylen Waddle, we still have, and I pray that this is the case throughout the year and we see an extension soon, we still have Devon Achane. We still have Pat Paul. We still have Aaron Brewer. There are pieces that are in place. If you were to ask me this 4 years ago when we drafted Jaylen Waddle over Penei Sewell, over Jamar Chase, over Devonta Smith, over Amon Ra, if you were to ask me what my thoughts would be, I would say, well, yeah, because I've never been a fan of fast receivers because they tend to not be route technicians and they tend not to be hands catchers. Jaylen Waddle proved me wrong. What I'm going to say in this one is, in this incredibly long, grown out answer is, you get an offer for a first round pick, which I hear Denver fans trying to say it's basically second. It's a first round pick. The reason it's a first round pick is guess what? There's a 5th-year option attached to it. You got a 3rd-round pick and you got a 4th-round pick and kicker. Denver's taking on the entire contract starting now and future. For a team where we're at in a draft where we covet receivers, Juan, we covet bigger receivers. The Elijah Surratts, the Jacoby Lanes, the Ted Hurst, the Jordan Camerons, the Mekhi Lemons, who now it makes sense that he went on a 30 visit, the Carnell Tates, the Jordan Tysons, the Chris Brazzles. Those are players that fit. And Juan, before I pass it over to you, because I'm sure you're going to mention this, I saw that our projection was now we're going to take a pick at 11 at receiver. The Green Bay Packers front office did the thing that they never do this year or last season and taking a first-round pick in Matthew Golden at receiver at pick 22. That didn't work out for them. This is a staff that was able to draft Greg Jennings, Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, was able to draft Romeo Dobbs. They have success in day 2 evaluations. So for those people that keep saying pick 11 is a slam dunk receiver, I would think more so it's pick 30, pick 43, pick 75, pick 87, pick 90, and pick 94. I love Jaylen Waddle. I'm seeing these videos. It makes me feel like I lost a child, even though I don't know what it's like to have a child. I understand the vision. I will mourn, but I promise you on draft night, when we're picking twice in the first round and we have 11 total picks, I'm going to be a pretty happy guy.
Chad, allow me to, and I'm not one, you've known me, we work together. I'm not one to really get upset. And and I'm not saying that, well, yeah, I am saying I'm upset right now.
Yeah.
Let me express it. Let me let it out. This is
Let it
our
out.
therapy. This is therapy, and I'm going to change my way of thinking as we continue because I am going to be a man of my word and trust this front office.
Okay.
This right now, it is just so Miami Dolphins. So when we were doing what we were doing with Stephen Ross, doing things the wrong way was the right idea. We've talked about this. Going for Tom Brady, trying to tank for Joe Burrow,
Yep.
also going for Sean Payton. This is
Mm-hmm.
a full circle moment. We're letting go of somebody, Chad, that me and you, we love this guy. Waddle, man.
Love
This
him.
is the guy that anybody will want for their franchise. And where are we sending him? We're sending him to the Denver Broncos, to Sean Payton. This is a full circle moment. I mean, really, like out of all the teams that he could have sent him to, now I know they're taking on the contract. I know we got a
Yeah.
first round pick. I know we got some
Yeah.
additional draft stock now here with a third and a fourth. Am I correct
That's
in
correct. Yep.
saying that?
Yep.
But Chad, I'm sorry, and I'm trying to make sense of it.
Yep.
You signed Malik Willis.
Yeah.
You want to put players in front of him to make sure he succeeds. And I know that we could do that in the draft. I just now in the first round, I'm thinking to myself, obviously you want to build with the trenches, but
Yep.
there's so many holes with this team that now you have to go back and say the best player available and trust your draft board other than defensive tackle, which defensive tackle, I'm only saying this because we've invested so much in the draft in recent years that we have no choice but to trust the development there. It's not like we have any studs. We just have to trust the development process to no
Yeah.
fault of this front office because they're brand new. And other
Correct.
than the running back position, which I am hoping that those rumors are not true because we talked about the rumors with
Brother.
Waddle and we were able to shoot them down. It came straight from Waddle himself saying that this was all cap. But little
Yep.
did we know it was coming from the Dolphins front office.
Yeah.
The smoke wasn't coming from him.
Yeah.
So there's so many holes with this team now that you have to think best player available. If it's a receiver, it's a receiver. If it's if it's defensive end, it's a defensive end. I don't know what route they're going to take, but in my mind right now, Chad, it doesn't make sense to take away weapons from Malik Willis. You just signed him. You want to make sure you're setting him up for success because it is very difficult to replace somebody like Waddle. How many times have we seen a first-round receiver bust? I mean, who was our first-round receiver before Jaylen Waddle? Wasn't it Devontae Parker?
Yeah. It was.
It's not a for sure thing. And so you had Jaylen Waddle, wasn't complaining. It was a bargain of a deal. And now we're sitting here. Obviously, this changes the mock draft. Maybe not the first round because if CC's there, I'm pretty confident in saying that the Miami Dolphins, unless they see something that we're not seeing, that's number one on their draft board come pick number 11.
Yep.
But if he's not there, according to some of the mock drafts that these people are putting out, like Mel Kiper and Walter Football, they're all projecting CC to get picked within the first 7 picks.
Yep.
Now it's shaky grounds. Now you're looking into some of these receivers where they could pan out. But they don't have that talent like Jamar Chase or Jaylen Waddle, where you're like, man, you don't know. You just don't know. So I say this, and you hear if you could hear the hurt in my voice because it's very frustrating. And I went from being optimistic. Audience, if you listen to our last podcast, how many times did I say I'm excited, I'm stoked, I'm optimistic? I'm usually the pessimistic guy. And it was a complete 180. I was excited. I'm like, okay, these moves make sense. Now, I'm hoping that as we talk about it, I can make more sense of it. I mean, it does make sense if we didn't get Malik Willis. But since we got Malik Willis, maybe it pans out. But right now, the way I'm thinking, I'm thinking to myself, if they trade Devon Achane, I think I'm going to lose it
Yeah,
because I don't know what we're doing.
yeah. I hear you, Juan, and I had the same thoughts. I think the Devon Achane is a slightly different, and I don't want to talk over myself on this one. He's 24 years old. It's a much smaller contract than what we'll see with Jaylen Waddle. I mean, if Devon gets 20 mil a year, then okay, he does. It fits with the timeline. I want to bring up a few numbers to you, and I want you to tell me if you know what they're from, and if you don't, that's okay. Number 29, number 50, fourth round, 23rd, fourth, 23rd, sixth. What does that mean to you?
I have no idea.
That's what we traded to get Tyreek Hill. So we traded the number 29 overall pick in the first round. We traded the number 50 pick in the second round. We traded a fourth, and then we traded a next year's fourth and sixth. Tyreek Hill had 5 Pro Bowls under his belt. He had 2 All Pros under his belt. He had multiple 1,000-yard seasons, which Jaylen Waddle has. I say this because the Chiefs traded away Tyreek Hill, and we talked about this one. Didn't they go on to win 2 more Super Bowls?
They did, and
Yep.
I know this is I don't want to take away from your moment here because
I want to hear it. Oh, let's go. This is what we need it for.
The common denominator with teams that make trades like that,
Mm-hmm.
they have the quarterback, they have the franchise quarterback. Where even
Correct.
if you make a mistake in making those trades, which in my mind they had to do it, salary
Of
cap,
course.
it just did not fit. So you get the draft capital and you keep building because Patrick Mahomes himself could offset a lot of the outgoing production from some of these stars that they had to trade. With us, I mean,
so
yeah.
So that's what I'm going to ask you. One, how much do you believe in Malik Willis?
It's a very small sample size. That small sample size, though, is enough to get me excited because it's more than what we've had in the past. With Tua, there was a sample size in college, but there was also that what if with the hip injury.
Yep.
So it's a small sample size, but I'm optimistic. I liked what I saw.
So walk with me here on this one then. Bring it in. We saw what Malik Willis did with a Packers receiving core that had a hurt Christian Watson. It had an on and off Romeo Doubs. They make fun of him having the space helmet because of concussions. With a Dontavian Wicks, who's a fourth rounder or a fifth rounder, with a Romeo or with oh my gosh, they're Matthew Golden this year in the first round, and we watched him dominate. I say this because Tyreek Hill's pedigree allowed him to get that much. We got, other than the second rounder, which if you change that for a third, and they got 2 extra draft picks for a more established dynamic threat in the prime of his career and a contract. We got a bag for Jaylen Waddle. I've heard people say we should have gotten more. We should have done this. And I understand, but we just watched DJ Moore, who has more accomplishments and a Pro Bowl, go for far less. We watched DK Metcalf, who, again, more accomplished and go to a Pro Bowl, have more Pro Bowls, go for less. We watched Michael Pittman, who has had good, not great seasons, but good seasons that go for less. I hear you when it comes to giving your quarterback. We talked about that, about the reason we're not going to trade Jaylen Waddle is because we're going to give our quarterback weapons. But again, what I'm going to ask you, Juan, is Jaylen Waddle enough of a difference maker that this year and or next year he's going to be the wide receiver one that does command a Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua-esque type of attention? And if the answer is maybe or no, then what did we do wrong?
So hear me out, Chad.
I'm here.
I want to answer your question first, and it's a no.
Okay.
But let me explain why it still doesn't make sense to me. The trade in itself, I felt like we received a lot. It was a good trade. The part that doesn't make sense to me is you're taking away a receiver in his prime that as a number 2 option that has gotten over 1,000 yards with these Miami Dolphins.
3 times.
3 times.
Yep.
So the answer is no, he is not going to be that go-to guy. You're looking to get that go-to guy in the draft, hopefully. He could be
Yeah.
that go-to guy at times, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a team sport. So
Yep.
you need that second receiver. We saw it
Agreed.
with the Vikings when they had Stephon Diggs and when they had what's his name, the
Adam
demon,
Thielen.
Adam
Adam
Thielen.
Thielen. Mm-hmm.
We see it with the Bengals. They got Higgins and they got Jamar Chase. Every team has to have that 1-2 punch,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're the Buffalo Bills and you got no receivers, but you got a once in a generation type quarterback with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think he is that guy, but he's one of those guys
Mm-hmm.
that gets you closer to being that team.
Yeah.
And when you take that away, you take a step back, and now you have to find the answers
Yeah.
through the draft, which, mind you, maybe this is me having, flashbacks from the previous front office where I'm thinking
Yep.
to myself, it can't be done. And these guys are confident they have a plan in place. And for all we know, I'm sitting here eating crow after the draft, and we
Mm-hmm.
drafted a Mekhi Lemon and Elijah Surratt. And now you're thinking to yourself, and maybe the tight end from Stanford, Sam Roush,
Yeah.
which
Sam Rush.
which I know you like a
Love
lot.
him. Love him.
And now I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking to myself, well, wait a second, this is looking like, well, I don't want to compare everything to Green Bay. We're the Miami
Yeah.
Dolphins, and I don't
Yep.
want to compare, but this is a better version of that because, yeah, they have some
Yeah.
good receivers, but now, I feel a little bit better about myself. Until that moment comes, that thought is still going to linger in my mind because I just don't know what's going to come out of this draft. And for the simple reason that there's so many holes
Yeah.
with
You're
this
creating
team
more.
that you're creating more, and you have
Yeah.
to answer that through the draft. So you could have a plan in place. Our guys could be the same guys that they're aiming for, but they
Mm-hmm.
have to be there
Yep.
come your draft selection.
Yep.
Because if we're saying this and this is a hobby for us, imagine the other NFL teams that they get paid and a lot of money,
Yeah.
to make these selections.
I agree with you, Juan, and I think that's what's beautiful about being a fan, and that's what's the beautiful thing about this podcast is we both feel the same way, but the way that we're able to kind of give different perspectives. As I've had time to let this marinate, and I've literally done hundreds of thousands of mock drafts where I'm like, there's so many receivers in round 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. I mean, bro, CJ Daniels goes in the 6th and 7th round.
Right.
I look at building a receiving core as a basketball team. You have your big 6'6" guy, we'll call your center, who can box out. You have your forward, who's your 6'4" guy that can play the Z and can and make things happen. You have your smaller point guard who could be 6 foot or under, who creates separation and who can essentially be your version of Wes Welker. The reason I keep going back to this one is because I look at it and I say, okay, what did Jaylen Waddle do that demanded he's untouchable? Now, that all changed for me when I took a step back and had the thought, I'm like, well, if you brought Malik Willis, and you and I just spent almost an hour a few days ago talking about Malik has weapons with him now. And I saw the question that got asked. I saw the question that said, if Malik Willis knew he wasn't going to have Jaylen Waddle, would he have still came? And the answer, people, yes.
Yeah.
He's still coming. It's about relationships. It's about trust. You can't tell me that Jaylen Waddle didn't have an idea when he was preemptively asked about who you would fight in the NFL, and he said Patrick Surtain, I beat the brakes off of him.
There was something there.
There was. What I'm going to keep going back to is, one, you and I have said this over and over again. You do better and you make more shots by taking, or make more buckets by taking more shots. You hit more balls statistically by swinging at more balls. You hit more targets by throwing more balls at the target. In a draft that is not star-studded, but it is littered with starters. Check the tape. You and I have been talking about this receiver class all offseason and before the season was over. We may not get a Jaylen Waddle, but if we can get two good players that can eliminate attention from just the Jaylen Waddle, if we can get our version of Romeo Doubs and a Devontae Adams by taking two players, what did we do wrong? What we did was we reset the books. Our cap space was terrible. If you want to blame someone for this, blame Chris Greer. Our cap space is a mess. In one off season, our GM has found a way to clear that cap space, take the hit, reload the deck, have 11 draft picks, which I guarantee you he will find a way to get a couple of picks in 2027. And we're having a different conversation. We now are in an opportunity where we're going to get to see what Malik can do without a star in Jaylen Waddle out there. You want to show us you're a franchise guy? Show us what you can do when you don't have a Jaylen Waddle. Does that make the job easier? Absolutely not. But what we are trying to do is we have 3 years of cost control for Malik Willis. This, if anything, and this is going to sound crazy, one, but I want you to hear me on this. This shows me more that they believe Malik Willis is their guy, because you don't trade a Jaylen Waddle if you have to evaluate if you think Malik Willis is a good football player. You don't. We come from a Jeff Hafley coach that literally was watching Malik Willis carve up his first team defense with third and fourth stringers on the scout team. Again, am I saying that you should leave a cup bare? No. But hear me out. And before people get all crazy, I'm not about to compare Malik Willis to Tom Brady. But what I am going to say is this one. The 1 year that Tom had, other than when he went to the Bucs, the 1 year with the Patriots, that he had an elite receiver in Randy Moss, did they win the Super Bowl?
They did not. No.
They made a living off of spreading it out. Danny Woodhead, Julian Edelman, Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski, Deion Branch. We come from a system now in a front office, and you said this a little bit ago, Juan, so I'm going to hold you to it. You have PTSD because of our last front office. This is different. So as your brother in Christ, I'm going to hold you accountable right now. You said you're going to give this FA, this FO, this front office time. Now, again, I'm not saying I love this. I don't. I've been arguing with people on X that I literally posted, tell people louder in the back, Omar, because he said he's not getting traded. I said, you're right. I definitely didn't think he was going to get traded because they're up in my mentions. But I did say I also didn't think a team was going to give us a first-round pick and 2 additional picks and take all of the money. Now, again, if I'm looking at this with my GM hat on, because remember, I'm a draft guy because I'm a Dolphins fan. We don't know anything other than the offseason. The value is crazy. The value is nuts for a Jaylen Waddle that has never made a Pro Bowl, for a Jaylen Waddle that did play second fiddle. Now, obviously, you and I both believe he can be a wide receiver one. We're not saying he's going to be Jamar Chase, but we believe he can be a wide receiver one. But I'm going to ask you this one. Name the 5 best wide receivers in the NFL right now.
Let's see. Justin Jefferson.
Pick
Jamar Chase.
Pick 5.
Jamar Chase. Nigba.
Jackson Smith and Jigba. Pick 20. Let me see. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Pick 20.
St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round pick. I'll help you out. The last one. Puka
Nacua. 5th round, right?
5th round. I'm not saying that this was smart. What I'm saying is, outside of Jamar Chase, the receivers Juan just said were in the back half of the 1st round, the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. Again, the beautiful thing about today's NFL and the high school circuit and college circuit is it's much easier to find receivers now than it was years ago. And Juan, I'm going to throw a little nugget at you that I think you're going to appreciate. Who's the receiver that's from here that said, I'm going to will it into existence that I'll be drafted by the Dolphins in a few years?
That's from here.
That's from here.
He didn't go. Does he wear number 10?
He does not. He wears number 4, and he doesn't play for the Hurricanes.
Man, I want to say it sounds like Benedict Arnold to me, but no, I'm just messing around, man. Listen, if we get Jeremiah Smith,
look, we're gonna go over a scenario, Juan. Let's say, and again, we're gonna run that. We're reeling people in with us. Let's say Malik Willis does do what we think he can do, and he performs well. But you and I just got done on the pod saying we're gonna have a losing record next year, and we may have a top 5 pick. Quarterbacks in the top 5 in a quarterback-starved draft are going to draft a quarterback. That leaves a certain cyborg available for us. This looks a lot different if we draft an Elijah Surratt and a CJ Daniels this year, and then next we have a top 5 pick and Jeremiah Smith is there and we take a Jeremiah Smith, doesn't it? Feels
Looks
a
a lot
little
different.
different. Looks a lot different. There's a Cam Coleman. So what I want to reiterate this, people. I'm not saying I'm in favor of trading Jaylen Waddle, but what I will say is, one, I'm excited that it wasn't to the Buffalo Bills because that was the other rumor. They offered us the 2027 first round pick. I don't care. I don't want to see him in a Bills jersey. And
Facts.
two, if you are going to trade him, what better thing to do than to get a first round pick, a third round pick, a fourth round pick, and the cash? I understood we traded Jaylen Waddle in a fourth, but we picked up a third. If you want to call it Jaylen Waddle, or if you want to call it a first round pick, a third round pick, and cash, call it that. We still did better considering that we drafted Jaylen Waddle with the first round pick, and we're getting a return on our investment 6.5 years later in the form of a first round pick and a third round pick.
Gotcha. Chad, keep me honest here. I want to respond to 3 things you said.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I went on a tangent.
No, you're good. You're good. This is what this is for. So one of the things he talked about was the record. Another thing was, is Jaylen Waddle that difference maker? And he used the comparison of the Patriots when they had Randy Moss and didn't come together. Is he one of those guys that is he worth sticking with?
Yeah.
And then the third one, see, I already lost my train of thought. Let's just focus on those 2 for now, and hopefully it comes back to me.
Okay.
Oh, I got it. The third one was drafting a receiver and the receivers and where they were picked.
Yeah.
The 5 top receivers, right? So those 3 things, I want to talk about those 3 things. And there's a part 1 and part 2 to each topic that I want to throw in there.
Okay.
So let's just start with the top receivers, right? And it's a good argument. It's a great argument because you have to trust your front office to make the picks. You can get, there's talent everywhere. Our best safety from recent memory, aside from Minka Fitzpatrick, was Rashad Jones. 5th round pick, right? The best receiver that we've had in a while was a 2nd round pick, Jarvis Landry. My opinion, Jaylen Waddle, very good receiver, but still, aside from him. Now, the thing with those teams and the difference between the Miami Dolphins is the Miami Dolphins haven't been a team throughout history that have drafted a receiver in later rounds, historically.
Yeah, you have Rashard Matthews if you.
But part 2 to this is a new front office. That is the difference. That is the kicker. So the reason that people are initially mad.
Yeah.
The reason that people are initially mad is I'm sorry, Chad. I just hear some background noise. And
my bad.
No, you're good. The reason that people are mad is because right now, when a trade like this happens and it catches you by surprise, you're blinded to that. You don't see that we have a new front office. So you start to vent. And this is what this is for, right? Because it brings you back. Well, wait a second. You can't go based off of history because we're talking about now.
Yep.
So, I'm upset, but this is today. Tomorrow, I'm going to convince myself it's a new day. I got to give this front office a chance, and I'm going to be a man of my word, which brings me to my next point. Today, I'm saying that we're going to have a losing record.
Yeah.
There was a short span of optimism on that last one where I said we could maybe have a winning record. But Chad, me and you, I feel like we're cut from the same cloth when it comes to this. As the season gets closer, as we start hearing reports from training camp, as we see some of the moves that we make, I don't want to speak for you, so I'll let you, touch on this afterwards. But I'm going to start telling myself we could win next week. And next thing you know, I start creating these scenarios in my mind where this is going to be a winning season. I can't help it. I really can't.
Love it.
I'm in Little League Baseball right now. And I think the audience knows, anybody who listens to us here knows, because I mentioned this in every podcast. I think I have the the worst team. And kids, if you're listening, this is to no fault of your own. It's your first season, but I still go out there and I expect to win.
Of
It's
course.
just it's in us, right? That's
Yeah.
just kind of how we are. So you expect to win, and you just don't know what next season will bring. If we're going to be in a position to get a player like Jeremiah Smith, I will do everything in my power to get that cyborg, as
Yeah.
you so
Yeah.
accurately described him. Because that's exactly what he is. But I would put the pieces in front of Malik Willis right now.
Okay.
If we could get the players in front of him to make sure that, hey, this is the guy. This is, you have to go out and get him. You have to trust your board.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that that's the approach that we take. I just don't know what to expect. Are we expecting something similar to what we saw in Green Bay? Is there a new approach here? What is it going to be? Because lately, Chad, honestly, it's feeling like the Green Bay Dolphins, where we got the coach, we got the GM, we got the quarterback. Did we get a free agent from Green Bay?
We did.
Free agent from Green.
Yeah,
we did, right?
Safety. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So I'm saying all of this, and it caught me by surprise, Chad. So you can't blame me. You can't blame the fans that feel this way, because we talked about it last podcast. We got the passing game coordinator, the leftover to be the offensive coordinator, and you're connecting the dots here. Jaylen Waddle was going to be that piece, that carryover where, hey, you know what, the passing coordinator made things work with Jaylen Waddle. Now we're putting a quarterback that we feel could remain healthy. I'm putting words in their mouth. This is just me thinking for them here. This is what I think they're thinking. And now I'm left thinking, well, why did we keep the passing game coordinator if the receivers are gone and our plan is to keep Devon Achane, the running back?
Yeah. I need to jump in because I got this train of thought.
Go do it, please.
We incredible point right now. We are also under the same assumption of what our old front office used to do. So you and I got on this pod. The first ever video you posted was about firing Mike McDaniel and John Harbaugh being available, right?
Right.
How many times have we said we want a front office where you build an identity and the coaches have to adjust to that identity? Right?
Yeah.
We're so used to fitting a square peg into a round hole because that's all that we know. How do we know that when John Eric Sullivan came up and said, I want a bigger, faster, or a bigger, stronger team, because bigger gets stronger, but faster can get slower and smaller, that he didn't mean it. He wants to build an identity. He wants to build something that he believes is sustainable. I'm not saying that Jaylen Waddle is not sustainable, because he definitely is. But you mentioned the offensive coordinator, bringing him over. I'll tell you why they kept him on, because they didn't just keep him for Jaylen Waddle. They didn't keep him for Devon Achane. What Jeff Hafley came out and said was, I hired the best coach that I believe can run an offense that he likes. How many times? And again, I'm going to be you if we trade Devon Achane. I don't care what.
That was my next point, because I'm listening, and not to cut you off, but I'm just going to throw it out there.
Yes.
They're big and strong, and Devon Achane is not the biggest. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the strongest guy. But he's got that dog in him. So I mean,
I will burn this podcast down if we trade one.
Hey,
if we trade and let me finish the thought, and then I will.
Yeah.
About the offensive coordinator. You brought in the best candidate, just like we would have been better off hiring Chad. I can't remember his name, but the assistant GM for the Chargers. We were the only team to put in an interview request for him, and then the Falcons ended up doing it. We would have been better to do that because we'd had a better shot at getting John Harbaugh, right? But instead, they said, we're going to hire the best possible candidate, which is why I appreciated John Eric Sullivan so much, because they weren't trying to lure in the big fish. They weren't trying to get Ndamukong Suh or Mike Wallace or Tyreek Hill. What they said was, we're going to hire the most sustainable thing, which is the GM, because the GM's been the struggle. You can't tell me every single player on the Philadelphia Eagles team from the year they won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, but I bet you can tell me who the GM was. You can't tell me every single player that was on that Seahawks team when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl back when Russell Wilson was there, but I bet you can tell me who the GM was. We've lived in a world as Dolphin fans where we don't know what front office competency is because that's all we know. We only know dysfunction. So we're so used to catching the big player fish when the last 2 to 3 years. Tyreek Hill had his 2 best, most electric seasons. We didn't win a playoff game. Tyreek Hill put up records. Tyreek Hill was voted the number 1 player in the NFL by the players. We didn't win a playoff game. My point in this to say is we're so used to building a team based off of a specific player rather than building an identity and drafting the players to fit that. Now, I say that to go back to Devon Achane. Yes, he's not the biggest. Yes, he's not the strongest. Josh Jacobs, if you look up his profile right now, he's going to weigh more. I'm going to say that right now, audience. He's going to weigh more. But Josh Jacobs in the combine came in at bear with me, internet loading.
No, you're good. I'm looking it up myself, see if I get it first for you.
5'10", 220 pounds. Right? Is that what you got?
I accidentally looked up Brandon Jacobs, 6'4", 200-something pounds from the Giants.
Yeah. 5'10", 220. Let's go to Devon Achane, 5'9", 188 pounds. So obviously there's a 30-pound difference. What I will say is, and Teron Armstead said this on the Set podcast, he said Devon is built lower, thicker. He appears to be small, but he's thicker. He runs in between the tackles. I don't believe Devon Achane is up for trade only if we get offered a first-round pick. I wouldn't do it. I won't burn this down. I'm telling you, I'll go crazy. But if we're offered a first-round pick for Devon Achane, I can see our GM saying, take it. I wouldn't do it, people. Again, I'm going to repeat, I would not do it. But what I will say is, I have a very hard time believing that an asset in Devon Achane, who's 24 years old, who's not even in the prime of his career yet, and fits with our timeline. Because, again, let's say we were going to compete one in 2 years for a Super Bowl. At that point, Jaylen Waddle's almost 30 years old. In 2 years, Devon Achane will be 26 years old. Again, context is key. I believe Devon Achane is part of the solution. I believe Jaylen Waddle was a part of the solution, but I believe that John Eric Sullivan sat in a chair, waited for an offer, and they said, all right, we're going to give you a first, we're going to give you a third, we're going to give you a fourth. Give us Jaylen Waddle, and we'll take a fourth. He said, okay, I'll only do it if you pay his contract. They said, done. The Broncos have a small window to capitalize. We've been there, Juan. We all asked to blow this up. You and I talked on this podcast saying we need them all done. We got rid of the GM. We got rid of the head coach. We got rid of the quarterback. This is what a true full rebuild looks like. It's painful. It hurts. It makes you feel like you got kicked in the you-know-what. But if we can keep a Devon Achane, if we can keep a Pat Paul, if we can keep an Aaron Brewer, if we can keep a Jordan Brooks, which if John Eric Sullivan wants to make fans happy, extend Devon Achane right now. I bet you'll see a different side of Dolphins Twitter then. But to go back and wrap up my part, to throw it back to you, my brother, I hate it. I get it.
You know, I was listening to, I don't think it was a documentary. It was a short video that I saw. And I'm not comparing this video to our situation here because it's not even close. And it was about Shaq and Kobe and how it didn't work. And they had 2 coaches out. The Lakers are saying they had to break it up. The fans are saying they have to break it up. And then you get the right coach in there. And they go on and they three-peat. You make it work. The Celtics, same scenario, right? And I know we're talking about basketball, but if we want to go to football, John Elway took forever for him to win. How many times did they say, "Hey, we got to move on from this guy"?
Mhm.
And maybe I'm wrong about my history because that was in the late '90s, and I was young then, so I have to
Last
go
2
based
years of his
off.
career, he went back to back. It was after they got Terrell Davis.
Right after they got Terrell Davis, just went beast mode. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comparing Jaylen Waddle to a Terrell Davis or football version of Kobe or Shaq. None of that. What I do want to say is you have to keep some sort of talent. I mean, even when we tried to do a full rebuild, or what looked to be a full rebuild, roster wise, not front office wise,
Yeah.
we kept our guy in Xavier. That was our guy.
And Minka
Now
at first,
and Minka at first, right? Correct. Yeah.
before we traded him.
Right.
Yeah. Great
So now
job
I'm
there.
looking at this, and the part that I'm like, this doesn't make sense. It just goes back to Malik Willis. We got Malik Willis,
Mhm.
and you're thinking they're going to go one direction, and it goes another. Now, to your point, Chad, and I respect the coach for this. I got the best guy for the job for the
Yep.
offensive coordinator position. So it wasn't tied to Jaylen Waddle. It
Correct.
wasn't tied to Tyreek Hill, which we all
Yep.
knew he was gone anyways. So I get that. The part for me, and this is today, tomorrow, it'll die down. It'll die down. But
Yeah.
you gotta bear with us. We're
Gotta
Dolphins
process it.
fans. You gotta. We just didn't expect it. It came out of left field, and this is a new front office. We had to get used to them, and we got to give them a chance.
Yeah.
The initial shock for me, I'm still in shock, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about it, and they're taking on the full salary, we got those 3 picks on a draft where really it's heavy in a lot of positions. We could fill in a lot of holes. I want to start shifting my attention now to, okay, how can we fix this? What's the solution now?
Come on, Will.
It's
Come on.
it is what it is. It
It's
is
done.
what it is.
It's done.
That's it.
It's
we
done.
had our therapy session. We talked about it. It is what it is. The whole Malik Willis thing and letting go of Jaylen Waddle didn't make sense unless if you guys go back to the podcast that we had before, we get an Elijah Surratt. Unless we get a CJ Daniels, which Malik Willis talked about, planted that seed.
Woo.
Man, it'll be great to get a CJ Daniels. Now you could start recreating those wins in your head where, hey, wait a second, let's not mark this down as a loss. In training camp, CJ Daniels in the red zone catching it one hand, Elijah Surratt making plays left and right. These guys aren't open. Well, that's okay. We got a quarterback that runs a 4-3.
Ooh.
Well, you take away our receivers. Guess what? We got Devon Achane that runs a 4-2, 4-3. So I want to focus on that now. We had our therapy session. To audience, if you're listening, this is it's a new day. We talked about it in the last podcast. It looks different and it feels different because it is different.
Yeah.
How excited were we when we got all those draft picks for our boy Tunsil?
Laremy Tunsil, yep.
We were pumped. We were excited. But Chad, we talked about it in the previous podcast. He said, man, we shouldn't have done that trade. You know why we shouldn't have done that trade? Because we had Chris Greer. the worst. Yeah, because anybody else would have drafted Jamar Chase or.
Yeah.
But
let me add one thing to that. Not a single player from that trade is on the team anymore. Jaylen Waddle, Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill, gone. Just want to throw that out there.
That is why people get upset. But we're still thinking that we got Chris Greer, right? Because that's what I'm thinking. I saw the news. I kid you not. I was at work and I'm doing my thing. And I forgot what I was doing for a second. I was about to go on break. And a colleague comes over because he knows I'm a Dolphin fan, but I'm distracted by what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh, you mean you're actually working?
I'm working, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
And he tells my buddy next to me, Eric. And I finished doing what I'm doing. And I look for him. I'm like, where'd he go? Well, he left. And I look at my phone, and I'm just there seeing that Jaylen Waddle got traded. So I went from bad news because what I was doing, had to do with something not good. And I see that, and I had an out-of-body experience. I wanted to throw that phone across.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not happening. And my buddy Eric is like, yeah, he was just here talking about that. And I was like, dude, I should have known. But again, that's in the past. What I was thinking about right there and then, and what I was thinking about as we were breaking this down, because I know there's fans still thinking about that, was that Chris Grier. He's not here anymore. Those draft picks that we selected, those guys that are no longer here, where we got all that draft capital, because even when we do stuff right, we still find the way to mess it up afterwards. That's exactly what he did. He is not here anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give this GM the benefit of the doubt. I didn't know that, by the way. I didn't know that the Broncos were taking on the full salary. That's twice he does that. He pulled it off with Minka, and now he pulled it off with Jaylen Waddle.
Crazy how that works, huh? When you get a GM that's not just eating salary. I mean, if you think about it, we traded Jalen Phillips to the Eagles. We took on the salary, and we got the lower third-round pick. You think that happens on Sully's watch?
No way, Jose. No way, Jose.
I'm saying
no.
So, one. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. We're going to see how this looks. I'm going to remain optimistic. Now, don't walk with me. I don't want to, Chad. This is your thing, brother.
No, this is our thing.
This is our thing. Let's take a walk around the block, right? I'm going to remain optimistic. We're going to get the right picks. This is going to grow. Malik Willis is going to be that quarterback.
Okay.
Now, the only way I do a U-turn on this whole thing, and Chad, I'm with you. We burned this podcast to the ground, is if they trade Devon Achane. Even if it's a first-round pick.
Yeah.
You
lost me.
You
lost me.
I'm going to remain optimistic. We're going to be able to fill the holes. We're going to get the best players available. They have a plan in place. I'm going to trust their plan. We are going to get bigger. We're going to get physical. I'm going to trust the process. Just please do not lose me with Devon Achane.
Can't have it. We can't have it.
That's the only thing I ask.
We have to. That was so beautiful, Juan, by the way. We have to trust that the tea leaves our GM has given us are true. And everyone's like, oh, he said he wouldn't trade Jaylen Waddle. That's not what he said. He said he's not calling and looking to trade Jaylen Waddle.
Yeah.
But every player has a price. Again, if I need to go on Twitter and repost the video, his exact words when he brought up talent, he said Devon Achane, Aaron Brewer, Jordan Brooks, Pat Paul. And then again, to repeat, this is not Groundhog Day. Travis Ing said, oh, and Jaylen Waddle. He said, oh, yeah, and Jaylen Waddle. Again, in the memory bank. I love where you're going with this one. I know we're getting close to time, but we need to vet and we need to get it out. I want to go to the draft, as you mentioned. I'm going to name you some receivers to have an eye on, and I'm not going to bring up Mekhi Lemon. I'm not going to bring up Jordan Tyson. I'm not going to bring up Carnell Tate because we are in a organization now where they put a premium on premium positions outside of receiver because they found talent in rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So the names you're going to hear are players that I think we should keep an eye on. Now, having said that, I will put one caveat to this. Mekhi Lemon was on a 30 visit, and it now makes complete sense. It makes complete sense. Elijah Surratt, Jacoby Lane, Ted Hurst, Jordan Cameron, Chris Brazel, Chris Bell, CJ Daniels. Yeah, do you hear these names? Bryce Lance. These are all players that I expect at minimum one of them will be in a Dolphins uniform. I'm hoping two. We are now building a team that is going to move people. Imagine a strong team in the summer days, in the hot days of Miami, bullying around people because they're conditioned, and then going into Gillette Stadium in December and January and moving those people because they're big and strong. Again, this is a draft and develop team. This is a GM that is going to be ahead, not behind. Bill Belichick used to get shafted and chastised because he would trade players a year early and get draft capital for them. That's the GM we have now. We're no longer trading players a year too late. We're trading them a year early to ensure that we're going to get the most capital that we possibly can. I believe in Malik Willis. I think the staff believes in Malik Willis. This is our rookie quarterback. If he shows any signs of life, do not expect us to take a quarterback in the first round next year. If he's a colossal bust, then we take a quarterback. We take Juan's guy, Darian Mensah. We take Arch Manning. We take Dante Moore. We take Sam Levitt. We take Brandon Sorsby. We take Josh Hoover. We take John Mateer. We take DJ Lagway. We take Lenore Sellers. They're there. But people, you asked for the rebuild. That's what we should name this video. You asked for the rebuild. This is what happens when you have to go through a full rebuild. If you've ever been in a relationship, and I'm talking to all my fellas out there, with the girl that you thought you loved, and you got dumped and you got left, and you were heartbroken, and you had to go through the peaks and valleys where you're hearing songs, and you're like, oh my gosh, it reminds me of her. You're driving and you see a Jack in the Box. You're like, oh my gosh, we ate a Jack in the Box. You go to Disneyland and you're like, oh my gosh, we did Disneyland. You watch a series, you're like, we watched it together. But then guess what happens, Juan? You actually meet the one that makes your heart feel a little bit better, the one that makes you feel like you have a purpose to live. And you look back and you say, if I knew that all of that heartache would lead to this, I would do it over and over again and twice on Sundays. Dolphin fans, I'm not advocating that we were smart in getting rid of Jaylen Waddle. But what I am saying is, much like a relationship or a breakup or a divorce, greener is on the other side if you embrace it and you do it the right way. This is the Dolphins, like being in a relationship. This is the Dolphins in our front office taking a look in the mirror and saying, you know what? We've diminished a lot of our core values and decided to settle. Gentlemen, never settle. If there's red flags, don't just bypass it because she looks the best. And that's exactly what the Dolphins did. They looked in the mirror. They said, you know what? This isn't the type of relationship we need to be in. It's not working. It's the definition of madness. We're doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. Let's take a step back. Let's evaluate ourselves. Let's get rid of the bad. In this case, fellows, that's getting back in the gym. That's getting your diet right. That's getting your mind right. That's getting right with the Lord. That's doing all of that. And then when you're prepared, or in our case, in the Dolphins, when we are prepared to make a run, we've established the foundation the right way, and we've found our future wife at the altar in this scenario.
Guys, listen to Chad. Okay, I don't want to add anything to it. Chad, you always come up with the best stuff right at the end. And he walks you off he talked me off the ledge. Listen, I don't want to add anything to it. Very beautifully said, brother, my brother in Christ. Anybody listening, guys, Jesus loves you. Listen to Chad, okay? Don't listen to upset Juan here by no. Listen to Chad. Remember, guys, this is Fins Up Talk, okay? It's for the fans, by the fans, to the fans. Keep tuning in. We're gonna have more great content. We're gonna try to be on whenever we get breaking news. And Thank you so much for being a part of this here with us.
Fins up, everybody.
Fins up, guys.
Brother.